Mr. Walton, did you make contact with aliens? Were you taken to another planet, to a mothership? How did they communicate with... Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food? Injections? It's important the entire world learns of your experience.
That's enough!
The teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
For the seeker.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS TDRIS.
Nice to be in orbit.
I'm Joe Roop, and this is Lighting the Void. Voices for Verity in this crazy realm of polarity. Good evening, how you doing? It is Wednesday, February the 21st, and the night is cold and raining to the point of flood here in the natural state. And the moon is waxing on into midnight. Fire up your chakras. Sync both hemispheres of your brain together and shoot your magical beam of light through your third eye tonight with us as we peer into the void between spirituality and science. Man, I barely made it in here, guys. I'm talking about crashed into the studio. Woo! There's a big hydroplane wreck, man. It's flooding out here. Anyways, this is a live show broadcasted on the Fringe.fm. It can be heard on lightingthevoid.com. TalkStream Live, TuneIn, Spreaker, iTunes Radio, Radio Guide FM, Radio Guide, and more by proxy via the Fringe FM. The TalkStream Live number, call to listen line, if you want to call it that, is 701-719-3971. Call that number if you run out of data. And, yeah, that's all you got. That's what that number's for. I want to say thanks to all that have donated to the show. I know a lot of you are people asking for your money, so if you can help us out, that'd be great. Thank you all that have purchased from our advertisers and said that we sent you there. Don't forget, Chance gave you a Magical Egypt 10% off. If you go to magicalegypt.com, you get 10% off. Just put in the keyword code Fringe. Now, if you find anything of value from the show or the Fringe FM, please donate, like, subscribe, leave a review, do whatever you can for us. We thank you for it so much. I know I hit a button. I hit something here on my mixer, and my sound's all jacked up, so I apologize for that. But I'll fix it during break. Whatever. All right, so let's get on with this thing, right? So we got some new supporters on social media. Kimberly Baker Earnhardt, Ashley Reinhardt, Brent Gregory, Med Amin Pika, and ACOG You Maniac, James Bochanek. I can't believe ACOG just finally liked the page, but that's cool. He probably just found it. And Brian Boyd, thanks, guys, for your support in the social media world. Really appreciate that. That means a lot as well. Yeah, I really do appreciate that. If you guys go to YouTube, we have all the archives are on YouTube. Like, so some of the podcast players don't have all the archives there, but if you go to YouTube, every single show that I've ever done since I started this thing is there. Some of them got like 50 views, some of them got 60,000. So a lot of that just depends on the guest, but I am no YouTube guru. But anyways, tonight we're going to stay on the topic of magic as we discuss many times what real magic is, often sometimes spelled with a K. We delve into spellcasting and sorcery tonight. We're going to go a little bit deeper. How does this work? And for those interested, how can we do it effectively to help our lives and our consciousness and those we love? Author Jason Miller joins us coming up. Also, don't forget, tomorrow night, John Polk is going to be here with his new debut on the Fringe FM, Quantum Hologram Matrix. That show's going to be here with us tomorrow. So that's going to be cool. I can't wait to have him back on the network. Go to the website, sign up for the newsletter for any exclusive content we have. You're going to get that as well for free. It's in the top right. You just put your name and email. Bam. That's it. Hit submit, and you're subscribed. Follow, like, subscribe. I already said that. Everything's Lighting the Void, YouTube, Twitter, everywhere you can go on social media. So, yeah, that's what's going on. I got to talk about some stuff, I guess. Unfortunately, there's some things that I need to get off my chest, and then we're going to get on with the show. I'm excited about this show tonight, by the way, because this is one of my favorite subjects, and I hope you're excited about it as well. We're going to go on with the Gilson report. Did you guys enjoy Zach's? My cousin came in the studio last night. We got a lot of praises for that show last night. And, Chance was awesome, but, a lot of people enjoyed the fact that I had my cousin in here sharing his experience with us. So I thought about doing this segment a little bit more, actually. I thought about maybe, I don't know, instead of doing news and pop culture talk and all that stuff at the beginning of the show, I thought maybe, just maybe, we would do like an experiencer segment. First 30 minutes of the show for listeners or any of you guys in the audience or family members or whatever. Now, that's almost like trying to get two guests for one show, but I think it might be worth it. Let me know what you think, guys. So send an email to contact@lightingthevoid.com and let me know. I'm thinking about doing that. All right, let's move on with the Gilson report. All right. I got to do this rant about the shootings because everybody's messaging me, wanting me to know where I stand on this thing and all this stuff. Look, people died. Enough said. That's it. I mean, I feel like, and I know some of you aren't going to agree with me, but I feel like when someone dies, especially children, no matter what you think, no matter what conspiracy is going on or whatever, let's give these people some respect for a little bit. I told you last week, as soon as it happened, I was pissed off at the titles that was on social media, bloodbath in Florida and stuff like that. I mean, media is insane right now. It's doesn't even make sense to me. But I'm not going to talk about gun laws and stuff. I mean, I might a little bit, but look, my opinion on this has, as far as guns and stuff goes, always been the same. A car is dangerous, but it needs a seatbelt on it, right? And I got an idea how to fix this. And I know you're going to think, Joe, this is dumb. This is not the answer. Well, no, just hear me out, okay? They train our military with video games. Right? I've heard about that. You guys read the article about that. I'm sure you have. They use simulations and stuff like that. If you're going to own, I would say anything handgun or maybe something more, why don't they put you through a simulation? Take a little class, do a little test, and then put you through a simulation and give you like 10 scenarios. How does this, and make it like 3D. Put on some 3D goggles with a weapon or whatever, and throw some situations at these people to see if they can psychologically handle a gun, if they really need one in their hand, or if they're messed up or not. I mean, wouldn't that answer it? 5 minutes, put them in a simulation. Here's the weapon, here's some simulations. Should you do this or not? Whatever, something like that. And then we'd be done with it. I mean, there were kids, I've never seen this before. I've never seen it like this. There were kids that walked out of their class today in Texas. They just walked out in Texas, of all states. And the principal's threatening to suspend them for doing it. Just hundreds of kids walked out. You can see them. They're protesting. They want something. Kids want something done about this. It's getting crazy. I've seen us get extremely polarized about stuff, but people are really getting sick of this, man. And, I mean, Twitter suspended thousands of accounts overnight. Most of them were conservatives on the platform, and they're not happy about it. And Twitter hasn't made a public statement about this issue, but a lot of right-wing users, especially the people that are pushing for, like, you know, pro-gun people that don't believe in any kind of laws on guns or safety measures or whatever, they believe they're being targeted in a mass purge. That's what they're saying. But what they're also saying is there's like Russian bot accounts. So I'm confused about this. But they even started a hashtag called hashtag Twitter lockout to talk about the purge. And some are claiming that real people instead of just bots were locked out. So that's the only thing that Twitter's claimed, is that they said that they're taking out bots, right? But real right-wing conservative accounts are getting locked out of their accounts. Gizmodo, I guess they're not unable to confirm this, that any real people have had their accounts mistakenly suspended. So I don't know if you guys know those neo-Nazi guys like Richard Spencer. I mean, extremely right people are getting messed with about this. They're getting their accounts shut down. They're losing thousands of followers. And the only thing that we've heard from Twitter is that they're bots. But this is how bad it's getting. I mean, this is how, you know, polarized people are getting about this. And I'm not saying, right, you know how I always speak about, I'm always saying no polarity, anti-polarity, right? Well, sometimes polarity is a good thing, I think. You know, this is something that we got to figure out as a society, because people are getting tired of this. It's totally insane. I mean, I don't want to hear about another shooting at a school, man. I know you don't either. It's not like just one a year now. It's 2, 3 a year. It's so crazy. And this Hogs guy or whatever everybody's saying he's a crisis act. Look, all right, so here's the thing. Here's what's the most important thing about all of this, okay? Children died. That's it. And this keeps happening. To say that we need to figure out how to get this to stop is a bad thing. Like, that's what scares you, because I'm saying that we need to figure out how to stop this. Or you're just going to try to take, you know, my guns. No, man, that is not at all what I'm talking about here. And also, I've learned that, you know, when you see this stuff online about crisis actors and everything else, well, this kid's in California, now he's in Florida, he's a crisis actor for the FBI and the CIA and stuff. Okay, yeah, so I'm not saying they don't do that stuff. They probably do. But, you know, don't just look at one video on Facebook and assume that you know that that's what's really happening. If you want to get on, you know, social media and you want to say all this stuff and don't want any backlash for saying it, you need to do more research than everybody else is doing. And then you need to be able to back it up. I don't know if the kid's an actor. From what I looked at, is he was really at all these places and he's into journalism. That's all I saw. But that's not even important. That's not important. The important thing is people died. That's what's important. Get off of it, guys. Come on, man. Like we do when the kids are marching before we do. That's a problem. Anyways, I'm done with that rant. All right. Moving on in the news. What is Bigelow up to now, right? Robert Bigelow, apparently, according to Bigelow, space tourists can book a stay at a monster inflatable hotel that will orbit Earth in 2021. This is what Robert Bigelow is saying. Billionaire hotel mogul Robert Bigelow plans to sell reservations at an inflatable space hotel by the year 2021. The 72-year-old, we all know about Bigelow, who made his fortune through the hotel chain Budget Suites of America, says the hotel will be part of a monster space station. This isn't, I checked into this. This isn't fake at all. The per passenger cost could be in the low 7 figures through most likely in the low 8 figures, Bigelow said. So, as well as the ambitious new project, Bigelow said that he's going to be investing millions of dollars to learn about the global space market needs. So we know Bigelow's into all this stuff, but he's about to put an inflatable space station above an inflatable hotel to orbit the Earth, right? He revealed that he's got plans for this and a new company called Bigelow Space Operations, BSO. And this company is going to manage marketing and customer service and act as operations for center of all the products created by Bigelow's original private space firm from 1999, Bigelow Aerospace. Watch and see if these two people don't merge with To the Stars. Just hear me out here. Just watch and see if these two people don't come together. The billionaire said he is creating, these are the model names, the B330 line of stations and the B330-1. And they're actually fabricating these things right now. And he's stating, I mean, this come out of his mouth, we're going to launch these things in 2021. 55-foot long, 7-meter long. It links together to form a huge private space station. This is for the rich, right? Here we go, guys. Hey, altered carbon. You can only go to the cool places unless you got money in the sky, right? They link together to form a huge private space station with more than twice the volume capacity of the International Space Station. And each module is a standalone commercial space station that can operate in low Earth orbit. He's going to sell time aboard this to governments in need of orbital laboratory space and the super rich. He also plans to offer multi-million-dollar reservations to space tours. Speaking of, so if you hit the lottery, there you go, right? So this new Bigelow BSO company is going to manage this thing. This single structure that these single structures, that house humans on a permanent basis will be the largest, most complex structures ever known as stations for humans in space. And that's the big news right now. Just a few years down the road. This isn't like by the year 2050. He's saying by the year 2021, he's going to have this thing up. So there you go. Now, here's my challenge to any you flat earthers. Please get on this thing. If you can. There has to be at least one, just one, out of all of you. I know how many of you are. I got bashed by you on my email when I was talking about it. Anyway, so I know there's a lot of you. One of you's got some money. And I really want you to do this. If Bigelow launches his rich boy space balloon, okay, will you please, just please get on it and take some pictures for us back to Earth. Let us know. I don't want to. You guys don't have to email me again. You don't have to bash me again or anything like that. Okay? But please do me this one favor. One of you is $1 million. Put all your money together. Do a Kickstarter. You can do what's called the Flat Earth Proving Kickstarter. Whatever you got to do. Get on this thing. Float around it. We're only 4 years away from this thing. Less than 4 years. If I'm doing my math incorrectly. Get on this thing and take a picture down to Earth. And then tell me your eyes are lying to your brain. I can't wait. Actually, I want this to happen. Of course, you're not going to believe it until one of you goes into space. Who's it going to be? Don't send me your hate mail. Don't send me your hate messages. Don't tell me you're never going to listen to me again and all this stuff. Just tell me that you're going to be the one that does it. I've looked in at this guy. You know who I'm talking to. You're telling me that I haven't looked into this stuff enough. And yes, I have. That I'm just taking a side here. No, I did. I spent days looking at all you guys' stuff. So, with that said, please get on this big ship when he launches this thing, and please take a picture and then get back to us. I would actually love that. All right. When we come back, Jason Miller, the Elements of Spellcrafting, It's going to be a cool show. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
Live Saturdays on the Fringe FM. The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. Dark Waters at 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern. Into the Paranormal with Jeremy Scott at 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern. Spaced Out Saturday with Joe Roop, 9 Pacific, midnight Eastern. And S4 with Eric Cooper, midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern. Live Saturdays on the Fringe FM. We rock the paranormal talk. Online at thefringe.fm.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Wouldn't you love to have a really sharp memory? More than ever before, people of all ages are struggling with memory problems and brain fog. Whether your poor memory is age-related or due to the effects of chronic stress, you can now improve your memory while reducing stress with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. That's right, you get 2 products rolled into one. Some ingredients in Calm and Clever enhance memory and help retain newly learned information more effectively, while other ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce stress by maintaining healthy levels of the stress hormone cortisol. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. To sharpen your mind and feel calm and centered, try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll love the way you feel and think. To order Calm and Clever, call 1-800-728-9948 or visit calmandclever.com. 1-800-728-9948 or calmandclever.com.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio with Joseph Roop. Stay up to date right now, lightingthevoid.com.
Don't feed the Archons. Feed ducks instead. And listen to Shift Happens on the Fringe FM, Fridays, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific. Cortana out. Quack.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to, so I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Come own the night with us. Hi there, this is Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio. Every Monday through Friday, right here on KTLK, the Fringe FM, I'm going to lead you down a path of mystery, intrigue, and suspense. So whether you've seen a UFO, had a run-in with Bigfoot or Dogman, or had ghosts running around your house, this is the place to be. Spaced Out Radio, right here on KTLK.
Oh, you know what I like about me? This is Rich Giordano, host of The Paranormal Code. No, I'm serious. The show's on twice a week now, Sunday and Thursday, on thefringe.fm and Spreaker, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. Yeah, it's 2 hours. It's live. And I do a show like you've never heard before. So you're going to come here, you're going to get your information, you're going to be entertained. But you're also going to hear the truth like, you know, you won't forget. Like you've never heard before. And for those of you who've been following, thank you. Thank you for talking me into this extra night. Now I'm on twice. Great. Hey, good for you, right? The Paranormal Code. This means something.
This is Lighting the Void Radio with your host, Joseph Roop. It's the show about truth-seeking and freeing the spirit, shattering your limited beliefs, revealing hidden truths, and much, much more.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. Thank you for sticking through the break there. I appreciate that. I know I had a little bit of a hot mic there for a second. We got all that worked out, though. So, yeah, don't forget, this weekend I'll be over at Spaced Out Saturday. Lorian Fenton's going to join us. That's going to be a cool show. And next week, Nick Redfern's going to be here, guys. I can't wait to talk to him, too. So, yeah, more stuff to come, more exciting things to come. Even we're trying to raise the bar every single show. Speaking of which, let's bring on our guest, Jason Miller. Now, Jason Miller has devoted 25 years to studying practical magic, as well as the Sorcerer's Secret, Sex, Sorcery and Spirit, and Financial Sorcery. He also runs the Strategic Sorcery Training Course, Take Back Your Mind program, and the Sorcery of Hekate Training. He lives with his wife and children in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. Tonight, we're going to discuss real magic, the magic of spellcasting. With all the spells out there in books and on the web today, it's hard to know if any of them actually work. Can we get results? Not just results, but results that truly matter. Can it change our lives for the better and the lives of our loved ones for the better? Jason's new book, The Elements of Spellcasting, answers these questions. Now, this book, according to Jason, provides the most effective and efficient ways to get things done with magic. So if you've cast a spell that didn't work, or if you are just curious about it, do you want to know how spellcasting works and how to do it effectively? Or if you're just curious about the nature of magic spells, then listen closely as Jason tells us about his new book and how it answers these questions for you. You can check out the website at www.strategicsorcery.net. Jason, thanks for coming on Lighting the Void, man. It's really cool to have you here.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is the first interview after the book was released. So it just came out on Monday.
Yeah, cool.
So thank you for having me on.
Am I the first guy to have a copy of this thing? I might be. You never know.
As far as like interviewers and stuff, absolutely.
Right on. So I was telling you during the break that I listened to your interview on Rune Soup and some other interviews. You've been on a lot of radio shows. You're all over YouTube. Your website's really cool. We have talked about the subject of magic and even spellcasting a little bit on the show, but I really think this is the first time that I've ever had someone on here that this is what your life is about, man. You're like, really, this is all you, isn't it?
That's it. It's one long episode of Doctor Strange. No,
no, that's
kidding,
cool. I get it. So, were you this way? Like,
no.
Did you grow up in a religion, or did you just go straight out into this?
It's funny. My parents were not religious, and because I had some spiritual experiences and you know, these kind of paranormal events, I started exploring religion myself. So my parents used to drop me off at church and then go out to breakfast and then pick me up. And I was very lucky in my connections early on. I had a very liberal Methodist minister, but I also made friends with a teacher that was a Rosicrucian teacher. Later on, I made the acquaintance of a root doctor in a neighboring town, and eventually in my late teens, I befriended John Mearden Reynolds, who's also known as Lama Vajranatha, the first Westerner to be ordained as a Tibetan Ngakpo, which is like a Tibetan sorcerer. And so, I even though I lived in just the middle of nowhere, I was blessed with all these connections.
Whoa, that's so cool. And you traveled all over, too. Like, I was listening to your show. You went You've been all over the world studying this thing, haven't you? This thing called Magick.
Yeah, I have. I've logged a few miles, gotten a few stamps on my passports for sure. You know, it's important, I think, to get out and see how these things operate in cultures where magic, even if it's taboo, even if it's thought of as slightly strange or something those people do, it's not considered this evil thing, or it's not considered this thing that is anti religion in the way that it can be in America. So it was good to get out and see how those things happen. It's always good to get away from where everyone knows you and where your identity has sort of been crystallized. It gives you a little bit of fluidity about who you are and how you see yourself. And I'm a big advocate for travel, and I'm a big advocate for magical pilgrimages.
I was extremely jealous, by the way, listening to you talk about it. You know, I was like, wow, this is so cool. Because I love, people think I just sit in the studio all the time, and I really do. But I dream about adventure. I dream about going to the pyramids, to Europe, to the East. I would love to go backpacking and do all that stuff and meet, gurus and certain people. I mean, it was just really cool listening about your adventures, man.
Well, how old are you?
I'm 35.
And how many kids you have?
One. I have one.
How old?
He is 13, about to be 14 in a month.
All right. So, I did a lot of my traveling in my 20s, and I'm 45 now. So, don't get me wrong, I've still gotten around, but most of the traveling that you're thinking of was done before I was married or had kids. And so, if you've got a 13-year-old and you're 35 now, so you had a kid early on, so you get it even better. You get to travel not necessarily destitute and on the cheap. You can actually maybe afford to stay in a hotel when you travel, as opposed to sleeping on trains and people's floors and stuff. But it's not that expensive. You just up and do it.
Right on, man.
I don't know if this is your full-time job or if you have a day job, but the next time you're, switching jobs, schedule a couple months in between.
Oh, I'm going to do it. It's not a matter of, I'm to that point, and you know what I'm talking about. It's not a matter of financial thing, because I kind of understand how this magic thing, it's something that, it's a matter of when. I'm going to do it now. I have to. And when I got this book in the mail, and I ripped it open, the first thing I saw was this awesome looking sigil on this thing. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is the good one. This is going to be a cool book. And it's full of humor. It's an easy read. It's probably one of, there's some books you read that they're just information, but this book is a practical book. This thing will actually change your life if you're into this stuff, man. So this is good stuff. I'm glad you did it.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that the book is being well received, and it's a lot of stuff that has been on my mind since I started teaching. I think people know how to do magic in general. You can pick up Judica Ill's Book of 5,000 Spells or The Century of Spells by Draja Makarik, and bam, you've got, a book of spells. But there are certain things, ways that you can apply them, and certain things that have kind of come up as common wisdom that really aren't wisdom and are kind of self-defeating, that I wanted to do away with, as it holds people back. So that's really what this book is about. It's called Elements of Spellcrafting, in the way that Elements of Writing is supposed to be about best practices for writing. So this is sort of, best practices for spellcrafting.
Is this? I was told to ask this. Is Magick spellcrafting? Is this dangerous? Is it what everybody thinks it is? A lot of people, they say, you know, and I know the answer to this, but I'm asking your opinion, you know, or I have my opinion of the answer, but do you consider magic to be a dangerous thing?
Yes.
Right on. Honesty is always cool. Yeah.
It is. But the dangers are not usually what people think. And even when they are, it's dangerous. But it's not the most dangerous thing. It's not, you know, extreme sports without a helmet dangerous. It's the kind of thing like driving. Is dangerous. A lot of people die doing it every day. You see accidents on the road. But you get behind the wheel because you want to, because it gets you from one place to another, and you take certain precautions. You put on your seatbelt, you have other safety precautions. If you're going to be doing crazy driving, like, you know, driving in a stock car rally, then you have helmet and a crash, you know, bars around you and all that. Magic is no different. Magic is no different. Is it dangerous? Yes. And I hate people that try to sell it as not dangerous.
Like it's some happy-go-lucky bunny frou-frou thing that'll never hurt
Everything
anybody.
is rainbows. The spirits only ever want what is best for you. You know, everything out there is just love, and if you just think about it the right way, there's no such thing as, you know, negativity, and you know, those are the kinds of people you just want to like slap them and be like, did that really happen? Or, you know,
did that hurt? Yeah, right.
Or,
I get it.
Or were you just, you know, what was that a positive thing? Are you not thinking negatively about that?
Don't be negative, man.
Yeah.
Did that hurt? And as soon as they say, oh, yeah, it hurt. No, dude, don't be negative. Yeah.
If magic is real, magic is dangerous automatically.
Right.
Now, you know, what those dangers are, you know, it does happen that people will summon something and they won't take the necessary precautions, or occasionally they do, and something still jumps past because shit happens. It's the world. And so then, yeah, they have a possession or an obsession, an entity gets attached, or a cross condition happens. I wrote my first book was all about this kind of thing. And so that's okay. But, you know, a lot of the other dangers of magic are things like perpetuating a bad situation. You've got a job that you hate, and you've got a place that you don't like to live, or your business is failing. You can, with magic, take that and perpetuate that forever. Just keep, you know, as your life is slowly starting to fall apart, you just keep putting it back together with this Band-Aids of magic, right? And it's just no good. It's not a good idea. It's better to let it just fall apart. What's that quote from the Declaration of Independence? All experience has shown mankind is more disposed to suffer what evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. It's that kind of thing that you can do to yourself with magic.
Yeah, because
you can just keep comfortable, but in a shitty situation. Oh, sorry, in a bad situation. You could just keep that going forever in the name of comfort. Things like that. That's how people really mess themselves up with magic.
Yeah, you don't find out who you really are, though, if you're doing that all the time. And and I'm sure, and you can. And I was going to ask you this too. I'm sure you've botched some spells up, right, and paid the consequences for them.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And you're still here.
Yes, I am just barely.
Yeah,
but you know, I've done things with magic, and then looked at the fallout later, and been like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And I've done things with Magick that turned out all right, and I've had all manner of odd occurrences, happening with Magick, unintended fallouts of things. So it absolutely happens, It's anyone that thinks that they can control exactly how everything that Magick does happens is, either lying or is the best magician on the planet, and I haven't met them yet.
And you spell that out in this book too. I'm not going to give away the book, guys, but in between chapters, he makes these they look like little political cartoons that tell the story of what he's about to go into, and it's really awesome. It's really cool. I mean, that is Harold the Sorcerer and Sal Fagor, the demon, and my friend Matt Brownlee and I, we grew up together, and as we're all middle-aged men now, but we sat around in a couple bars in Philadelphia sketching those guys out, and that was a lot of fun to add to the book, these comics. Yeah, that's great. This is really great. And I got this thing that I say, and I want you're way more experienced at this knowledge than I am, so please correct me if I'm wrong here, but doesn't everybody kind of practice magic knowingly or I think we do. Sometimes we curse ourselves and we don't even know it.
Well, you're right. There is an element of magic that is from the mind itself, right? So there are certainly because we are spirits ourselves, so we have those abilities, and often we exercise them unconsciously. Sometimes we exercise them very strongly unconsciously. And so that can happen. But, there's other ways that most people practice magic too. They just don't necessarily call it that. You can go to the local Catholic church around the corner and find a sell your house kit for, where you have a little statue of St. Joseph, and then you do the appropriate prayers and you place him in a certain spot in your home. And if you're doing it the way it was originally done, then you're taking St. Joseph and you're burying him upside down in the yard until he sells your house, at which point you dig him up and you put him in the new house. And they don't call that magic, but it's magic.
Right.
I mean, it's clearly a spell. But it's not occult. It doesn't have that moniker on it. Buddhists do magic all the time. You need money, you're praying to Zambala. You want to influence somebody, you're praying to Kurukula. You've got all these different Buddhas and spirits and guardians and everything. But yet people will come to, say, Tibetan Buddhism, and they'll well, where's all the magic stuff? And I'm like, what do you mean? We're stabbing, dolls with a 3-sided dagger. It's to kill your obstacles. That doesn't look like magic. Well, it's not like a cult. It doesn't say magic. And it's like, well, it's still magic.
Yeah, well, you're putting on a funny hat and walking in a circle and you're mumbling some stuff and spinning incense. Yeah, you're doing a ritual, brother.
Yeah.
And you're just lighting up the subconscious when they do that stuff. I mean, I in a Catholic church, if you go into the right ones, it's pretty powerful. I don't know if you've ever been in one, but it can be kind of moving.
Sure, all the time.
But
sure,
what'd you tell?
I enjoy a good mass.
Right.
I'm watching a lot of the young people return to the Latin masses that are available. You'd think it's only the old people that are going to the Latin Mass, but it's actually the young people that are kind of longing for that return to the mystery traditions.
Yeah, and now everybody's talking about it. Man, like I said before, you were doing this stuff before it was cool. Now it's cool. There's so many people talking about it, so many Facebook groups and forums and, YouTube channels and stuff. And I think it's great. But what I'm trying to say is what I found in this book is if somebody came to me and I couldn't say, you need to talk to Jason, I had no way to send them to your website. And they said, I'm thinking about getting into, not, high magic where I'm just increasing my consciousness. I'm thinking about practical magic, right? Spellcasting and stuff. I would say most people go, ooh, tread lightly. But I think really if you picked up this book, The Elements of Spellcrafting, I think you're going to, and if you really follow what it says, I think you're going to be all right, because you've all that trial and error you went through, you've put it in here.
Well, I hope they'll be all right.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I'm saying. I think, it's a really cool. I love practical books, man. I'm stoked about it. And I think that, well, I'm going to ask you this then, Jason. If somebody came to you and they're new, and I'm sure you've had this happen in your life, and they're new and they're saying, look, I'm thinking about getting into this stuff. Like I was telling you during break, I grew up a Christian, but I'm starting to see the truth of things, and I want to, kind of get into this. Where would you tell them to start? Or would you tell them to start with the old Golden Dawn teachings, or what would you say to the person that said that to you?
No, I would not. I would not tell them to jump into the Golden Dawn, and Don Craig and modern magic and that style of work was one of my early introductions. But if I was to take me out of the mix, because obviously I have a vested interest in telling people, hey, start with the Strategic Sorcery course. But then again, I wrote it specifically for people to have a place to go. So, the first answer, while self-serving, would be start with me.
Right.
But after that, I'm a big fan of Mastering Witchcraft by Paul Hewson. I'm a big fan of a lot of the books on root work and spellcraft. Some of the ones by Star Cassis are wonderful. There's a new one that I'm reading right now, Secret Keys of Conjure by Chaz Clifton, I think it is. If I got that wrong, it's because I haven't met him and I'm not facing my computer at the moment, so sure. I apologize if that's not correct. So stuff like that I love. People that want to get into summoning spirits, there's so much available now that was not available when I was coming up, which is both good and bad. There are terrific translations of old grimoires, and there are people like Jake Stratton Kent who are laying out a workable vision of how to do these things and why they're meaningful, and do them in a way that they were done before the Golden Dawn, before Aleister Crowley, before the Golden Dawn, before that sort of mid-18th century, 1800s to early 1900s kind of, I don't know, center of gravity that everyone has been focused on for a long time now.
Right. Yeah, I bring that up because it's the only thing. Stuff. Yeah, it's the only thing that I found, that had some kind of guidance, like from here's where you start, neophyte to whatever, and that's...
And that is a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think it is too. But then when you look into it, man, it's got a Christian, Judeo-Christian background. Like they start you with those names and signs and stuff, and maybe it's not for everybody. You just got to pick and choose, I guess. But
there's nothing wrong with doing magic with a Christian background. Most of the Western magical tradition has run itself through a Christian background, and you can certainly go earlier than that, and you can certainly look at traditions outside of that. But even witchcraft has run its way. Traditional witchcraft has run itself through a Christian lens, so much folk magic that the cunning men of England, they were largely Christian. So and the people that wrote the grimoires that all these demons are summoned in, they were largely Christian. Many of them are specifically written for priests. So, that's fine too. I would also say Gordon White is a wonderful place to start.
Yeah.
He's known as a Rune Soup podcast, big in the world of podcasting.
Right.
But his books, Chaos Protocols and Pieces of 8, which Pieces of 8 is only available as a digital edition, that takes chaos magic out of the morass it had been in and just elevates the whole thing. So, I'm a big fan of that as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Rune Soup. I listen to that show all the time. It's a great show. That he's full of knowledge. But yeah, and you are too, man. Like I said, I'm glad I'm talking to you about this. And I got to be honest with you guys. That are listening. That I hesitate to talk about these things sometimes for fear of judgment. But that's my upbringing. But I realize the truth. I had a guy tell me one time, Jason. He said magic is so the universe has these laws. And you can correct me here too, please. But he said the universe has got these laws, and it runs by these laws. And then just look at it like a big operating system. Magic is kind of like hacking the operating system a little bit because you understand the laws. And I was like, wow, that's a way different way than Crowley put it. But yeah, that makes sense.
That's a perfectly reasonable explanation. I like it.
And you, in your book, you talk about, you change it. One of the first things you talk about is what is magic. And that's why I wanted to get that out of the way at first, because you get into this big theological, metaphysical, trying to discuss how it works and everything. And a lot of people want to understand that, but it's kind of hard to explain sometimes, especially for me. But you call it, instead of changing your will, you call it more like influence, right?
Well, you're right. So, Crowley had this wonderful definition. Magic is the art of causing change in accordance with will. And other people that came after him started laying other things on top of that. So Dion Fortune, changes in consciousness according with will. And then, Frater Udis, after a period of gnosis, and everyone has their spin on this of how they want to tweak it a little bit and change it. And I think both Don Michael Craig and Anton LaVey, for that matter, took the definition and said, using methods not understood by modern science, and clarified it that way. And those are all good additions, but rather than add anything, I just wanted to change the word cause to the word influence. Because if you make that change, suddenly it opens up a whole new understanding of how practical magic works and how practical magic can not work. Right? So somebody who tries to do something with magic and fails, they might, using Crowley's definition, walk away and go, well, this is all just bullshit. There I go again. Sorry. I don't
That's
know
all right, man. I get it.
This is all just BS. It didn't work.
Mm.
Or they might be like, oh, it didn't work. I did something wrong. What happened? Because the definition says, well, you're causing something. If you did this, then this thing should have happened, right? And people have done all kinds of backwards, logic and explanation of, it did happen, but in the astral, and it just hasn't filtered down yet, and maybe it'll happen, but months and years from now. And, if it happens 3 months after a spell, you shouldn't attribute it to that spell at all.
Okay.
That's not how it works, unless you're doing something specifically to be long term. But if you say influence, then it's sort of like, okay, well, if it didn't work, then perhaps it just wasn't enough influence. Either there wasn't enough strength on the lever, maybe the lever wasn't placed to maximum effect, or maybe this was just not a movable thing. And the cartoon for that chapter is, of course, Harold wants to make it snow, and Sal Fagor says, well, you know, it's July. Maybe I can get you a little cool rain or something.
Yeah, that was funny.
It's an unenchantable situation. So the influence is not going to match the task at hand. This also then opens up the idea that, well, if one spell isn't enough, then maybe multiple spells approaching the same problem from different angles will work. Or maybe there's something stronger that we can do to achieve this. And, you know, and do we want to do that or not? So if we just change that one word from cause to influence, it both explains a lot of things that have puzzled people about magic, and it opens up new avenues of how to actually accomplish stuff with magic.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. It really does. Thanks for answering that question, because I get confused about it. I've had people ask me that. Well, how does magic work? What is it? And I'm like, you know, it's very hard to explain for me, because there's the, I guess, high magic where you can increase in consciousness. And then there's, well, I guess the two things, and you can correct me here too, is theurgy or thaumaturgy. You know, you got practical magic, or you got where you're increasing your abilities and consciousness and stuff. So, and then there's other stuff too.
Well, you know, see, it's a little bit of a false distinction.
Good. Please correct me on that.
So, you know, well, it is and it isn't, I guess. You have the magic or the esoteric magic that can elevate your consciousness or expose you to new worlds and bring you into contact with angels and planetary spheres and all this kind of jazz, right? And then you have also mystical methods, which are more effortless, right? You're focusing on silence, on quiet, rather than layering on Kabbalistic names and ceremonies, right? So both of those are avenues towards expansion of consciousness, either going inward or upward, or just going deeper, or seeing things more clearly is how I like to talk about it. I like to talk about clarity rather than this sort of, you know, ascension kind of thing. But none of, you know, magic itself is not separate from that, or it doesn't have to be. So, you know, I mean, you can certainly apply all the teachings of the Golden Dawn into practical magic. You can apply the states that you reach in mystical attainment to practical magic. Right. It's not necessary for every type of practical magic. So I'm not trying to paint the idea that folk magicians and witches and so on were doing these kinds of mystical paths necessary, mm-hmm. but they often were spending a lot of time alone in silence and observing the world, which is its own kind of meditation and clarity. So I tend to view these things as the spiritual work reflects itself outward in the magic. Gotcha. So pure practical sorcery without spirit, to me, is blind, and spiritual attainment without being able to take advantage of the extraordinary methods of magic is lame. it's, you know, one without the other is blind, one without the other is lame. It's unable to make the changes it needs to make. So
perfect. Thank you for answering that. Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to go on our first break. We're already halfway through the show. It's moving by really fast. When we come back, the Elements of Spellcrafting with Jason Miller. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
This is Preston Dennett from PrestonDennett.weebly.com, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MigRelief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MigRelief migraine formula. MigRelief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MigRelief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to MIG911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354. Or visit MIG911.com.
Natural Health Solutions with Chris and Ronnie.
Hey, Ronnie, how you doing?
Great, Chris.
Now, you're the CEO of GetTheTea.com, right?
Yes, I am.
What is GetTheTea.com? I mean, is this tea you buy in a store?
Well, no, it's not. Life Change Tea is just that, life-changing. Life Change Tea is an herbal tea that gently cleanses your body from intruders.
What do you mean by intruders?
Well, intruders are toxins, chemicals, GMOs, heavy metals, and more. They're in our food, in our water, in our air we breathe.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
And Life Change Tea will help you with removing these, as you say, intruders?
That's right, Chris.
Are there side effects with this tea?
Well, you might lose a little weight. When you clean your colon, you lose weight, you feel better, and you have more energy.
Wow. Ronnie, where can people purchase Life Change Tea?
Oh, that's easy. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
Ronnie, I want to thank you for being on the show. People, don't forget, GetTheTea.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We are still getting strange on Sundays. Hey everyone, it's me, Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, letting you know we're on live Sunday nights right here on the Fringe FM. The Strange Sunday saga continues live at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Listen on thefringe.fm or at beyondthestrange.com. Again, that's Sunday nights, 5 p.m. Pacific. See you there.
Tired of talking about the weather? No, Shift. Well, Shift Happens is here to fulfill your desires as you reach that point in life where you crave tantalizing conversation about reality, ufology, the occult, and the conspiracies within, while simultaneously finding yourself desperately in need of your very own theme music, which we've got plenty of that too. So be sure to tune in to Shift Happens every Friday night from 7 to 9 Pacific, right here on the Fringe FM. Because the weather sucks, and you need some theme music.
Fringe FM listeners, guess what? TalkStream Live has just released a new paranormal app exclusively for the paranormal community called Paranormal Radio. Paranormal Radio has a great selection of streaming talk shows dealing with UFOs, the supernatural, sacred geometry, NDEs, and much more, including a network highly recommended, The Fringe FM. You can download Paranormal Radio right now from Google Play and the iTunes App Store.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Select Joe Roop at checkout at ancientlifeoil.com.
This is Lighting the Void Radio with your host, Joseph Roop. It's the show about truth-seeking and freeing the spirit, shattering your limited beliefs, revealing hidden truths, and...
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We are live on the Fringe FM. Don't forget, guys, I will be at Spaced Out Saturday, this Saturday night, with Lorian Fenton's going to be there with us. And next week, we're going to have Nick Redford on as well. You can check out all the show archives if you go on any podcast player or app. Every single episode of Lighting the Void, when I first started this gig, the very first episode with Stephen Ash, that's number one. You can start there and go all the way to right now. We're here with the author of The Elements of Spellcrafting, Jason Miller, and we're digging deep into the realms of spellcrafting and magic, and it's been awesome so far. Jason, thanks for coming on the show again. I really appreciate it, man.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So I wanted to get into a little bit of some questions here about a little bit more about spellcrafting. When you do a spell, and when I think about spells, I think about lighting a candle and saying a mantra, but a spell can be all kinds of different things, right?
Oh, absolutely. A spell certainly can be a candle and a mantra, or just a mantra. Spell can be spoken words muttered under your breath, or a spell can be a very involved ritual that takes days or weeks to complete.
Right on. Yeah, so when I asked you before, I was like, hey, do we curse ourselves? This is what happens to me, man. I'll go to, and this is little stuff, and you can tell me if this is magic or not, but I will go to a restaurant, a gas station, whatever, and I'll say, man, every time I come to this place, this is what happens to me, and I'm sick of it, right? A plus B equals C. And sure enough, it just keeps happening. I got to thinking, I was like, man, am I cursing myself? Am I literally making this happen like, you know, how The Secret says, or is that just all in my head?
Oh, hard to say without knowing without knowing the exact stuff. I will say, you know, stuff like The Secret and the New Thought, it taken to its logical extension, it starts to make people afraid of their own minds. You know, like people start to get paranoid about thinking about things. So I remember once I was teaching a meditation called Premeditatio Malorum, something that Stoics did. And it's just a psychological exercise where you visualize some of the worst things happening to you. And the idea is that you get used to it. You see how you would deal with that. And you train your brain to think, well, kind of, you know, well, if that's the worst that happens, then that's probably not likely, so I should not worry about it. But then people will be like, but if I think about that, doesn't it make it happen? It's like, come on, you know, are we really going to set up a world where we're afraid to think of certain things because of you know, it might manifest? No, it's so in a way yes, and in a way no. there are certain patterns where we can go to certain places, experience the same thing, and have a certain release of psychic energy. But it's subtle. It's a subtle, to borrow a phrase from Chaos Magic, it's a subtle sleight of mind, a way of releasing a little bit of spirit through a back channel. And, just do some nice cleansing, take a good bath, an Epsom salt bath. If you were raised in the church, pray the 23rd Psalm while cleansing yourself, and just remove the crossed conditions, and you'll feel a little bit lighter. And then do a little bit of meditation, train the brain.
Right, yeah. That's a good advice. It really, yeah, because at the end of the day, you could just do some grounding work or any kind of grounding or meditation and get that. My thing, though, was, what I meant to say is, when you think about something, and I don't want to be scared to think, but you want to be aware of what you're thinking, right? And you say it out loud. Does that have a different effect? Like, you think it, you speak it, and therefore it is? Or is that that's not always necessarily true either, right?
No, you have to be able to, well, let's put it this way. If you have a bugaboo about it, if you have in your head that speaking this aloud will somehow make it happen, alone, then you're giving those words and that unconscious, that unconscious statement that you're making, you're giving it a little bit of weight, and you're giving it a little bit of power. And so then, yeah, it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Gotcha.
But if you're not standing in that river of superstition, then you're not carried away by its current. Simply saying something or hearing something or talking about something, it's not enough to make it happen. It's not a spell. There's no intent there. We all run across weird situations where someone says something and then it happens. And there's a few explanations for this. One is that they're reading something that does happen. Another is that they have, in fact, willed something to happen. But there's also a natural explanation where, in a world where we say, we're constantly yammering from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, sometimes we're going to say stuff that has a weird coincidence connected to it. And so that also happens.
Gotcha. You know what I found out that I think magicians understand more than most is, I'm big into astral travel. I was into that way before I even started picking up any occult books, anything. And I was into, Robert Monroe. I don't know if you've read any of that, but he would just keep running into these things in the astral realm and was doing everything scientifically, scientific method, getting rid of variables, trying to figure this whole thing out. And when you read any book, especially like maybe The Tree of Life by Israel Regardie, or any book that magicians, it's like they, not only do they understand the astral realm, but they can use it. And that's very impressive to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is a big part of magic. I have a class I've been doing for a while now. It's usually only open to people that have taken the Strategic Sorcery course first, but it's called Level Up, where we go through the various levels of reality. So moving from the physical into the etheric level, where things like, chi and the nadis of yoga and qigong and so on exist. And then we move into the astral level, and then we talk about the psychonoetic level, which is a term I borrowed from the Magus of Strovolos, and then up into the causal mental level, causal levels, and so on, and how all of these levels relate to different magical practices.
Wow, you
how to
read
shift
Dascalos.
consciousness
That's
from
cool.
one level to another, and the types of magic that can be done there.
Wow, man, I didn't know you. That's really cool that you read Dascalos. I've got all those books too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love it. Love them.
That's So what about the ethical thing then? You know, there's this ethical question in magic where some magicians say the white magic, black magic thing, and I'm sure you've went around this conversation enough to where you're sick of it, right? But I mean, what is this thing, white, black? To me, magic is magic, and it's the choices you make, and that's it.
Well, yes and no. So, all right. So there's, on the one hand, you're absolutely correct. Magic is magic, and there's not an evil magic where evil stuff just, happens because you did something, quote, bad. Therefore, something bad is going to happen, and you did something good. Therefore, the cosmic karma leveler will come and do something nice. Will visit you and give you candy or something like that. That's a vision of karma that's not at all correct to what karma is meant to be about. And so all of this stuff that people used to say, like, well, no real magician would ever do anything negative because they understand that it would come back on them, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, most, probably the most well-documented type of magic in history is curses.
Right.
So, but now here's the flip side of that, where it's not quite so simple. You see, the kinds of work that you do in fact attract entities of that nature, and do in fact, you your pattern yourself after doing those kinds of things. And it's not fundamentally different. I'm sure we all grew up with people that fell in with a bad crowd, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And what happens? You start hanging out with the soccer hooligans, or you start hanging out with the rough gang, or whatever it is. And even if you're not like that, even if you're the good guy in the mob that everybody likes, you're still hanging out with the mobsters.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, somebody's going to come ring on your doorbell, and they're going to ask you to hide something, or they're going to ask you to take part in something. And you're going to get drawn in. Well, and the more you do things, the more neuroplasticity in the brain just forms around you enjoying doing that thing, right? That's just how we work. And so, if people do a curse for a good reason, or even not for a good reason, they do it. Afterwards, they take a high sop bath, and they cleanse themselves, and they distance themselves, and they walk away from it. You know what? It's not a perfect world. Sometimes stuff needs to be dealt with, and you got to do that kind of thing. But then you go back to focusing. I talk about this in my business class a lot, where I'm like, if you're in business, you should be focused primarily on expansion and creativity, not on binding and destroying people.
Gotcha. Yeah, right. So it's really where you're focusing your energy.
If you keep doing that over and over and over again,
right,
then guess what? Whether it's black magic or not, you're going to reap the same kind of reward, just because you're constantly surrounded by wrath. And sometimes there's really excellent reasons for this. I have talked to Haitians that have told me that they think, and I don't know whether they're right or not because I'm not from Haiti, and there are different opinions on this, but that they think that the petro spirits that were cultivated to help overthrow the French and establish the first successful slave revolt, which I think most people, and certainly I, look at as a good thing. But then these wrathful spirits are hanging around, and they enjoy the wrathful kind of stuff. They enjoy the rough and tumble life and the bloodthirsty offerings and things like this. And it's not just there. It happened in Tibet, too, where local spirits were bound. They were bound and chained and forced to serve Buddhism as it filtered into Tibet in the 8th century. Well, Dijum Rinpoche wrote an article called The Bad Luck of the Nyingmapas, basically saying that, all these really wrathful spirits that are not necessarily enlightened, they're just bound by magic, it has a consequence surrounding yourself with this. It has a fallout. You're appeasing and constantly hanging out with these guys, and it's going to rub off on you. So in that sense, yeah, there is sort of a black and white magic. Gotcha. If people are always gravitating towards the dark and the bloody and the kind of the most egoistic expression of dealing with any kind of problem at all, then even if it's not a different kind of magic, it's going to work the same way as if it was black and white magic.
That is probably the best answer I've ever heard as far as explaining it, because I've watched forums go online about this thing. I'm talking about them for days. What's the difference between black and white? And then you got these people talking about gray magic, and what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Like, what are you doing? What statements are you making? What expressions are you doing? Who are you hanging out with? What are you all about, really? What statements are you making in life? That's what I get from that, and I understand kind of what you're saying there.
Most questions in magic, especially ones about spirits and stuff, can be answered if you applied the same situation to something outside of magic, and said, okay, well, if you're constantly, if your boss is a dick, and you decide that you're going to go and cause him problems and get him and just be angry all the time and cultivate, bads, try to get him in trouble, and then the neighbor is you're at war with your neighbor because they're too loud. We all know this person,
mm-hmm.
and they don't have a moment of peace. And the more they do this kind of thing, the more their brain gets used to doing this kind of thing. It's their first reaction to the slightest problem. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, we have the people who don't do anything, the people that just let people walk all over them. And, but I believe in peace and compassion. And it's like, well, if you don't have strength to stand up for yourself or others, that's not peace. That's not peace. There's no justice. Ergo, if there's no justice, there's no peace. And if there's no ability to serve justice or force justice, then there can be no peace, So it's a complicated question.
Gotcha. And sovereignty plays an important role in that, right?
Always.
Yeah, see, we talk about that a lot, man. Like, when I get emails too, people saying, well, you're pushing a magical movement, Joseph. You're telling people to go you dabble. And I'm like, no, what I'm trying to get people to understand is that maybe our beliefs are messing with their head, and maybe we need to get some power back about ourselves and our lives that was taken from us or that we aren't aware of that we have. That's all. That's it.
That's it.
And
right on.
Yeah, that's all. That's one of the biggest messages here that I'm trying to do. And I don't know if we got time to go into, because I got to do the last break. We only got like 30 minutes left. But here's one of the big questions, and we may have to take this over after break. But another conflicting ideas. What is possible in magic, in the circle? Some people say, man, you can be invisible. You can shapeshift. You can do this. I mean, I've seen women take planes down and yada, yada, yada. Everything's possible in the circle. And then you have others that say, well, there's natural law. You're not, like Gandalf. You can't do those kind of things, right? You're not Harry Potter and shooting fire out your fingertips. Where's the balance there? What's possible in the circle? What I'm saying is there's this idea that everything is possible in the circle. And there's this other idea that, no, you need to be a little bit more pragmatic with this.
All right. So here again, I'm going to get more complicated. I have seen enough truly remarkable things. Some things that I don't even talk about because, honestly, to hear them secondhand is not, like, if somebody else were to tell me, I wouldn't believe it. And I don't think people should believe it unless they see it themselves. But I have seen enough things that are literally impossible for me to say that, yes, magic under certain circumstances and in rare cases can bend the laws of reality. But it's rare. And it's rarely repeatable even by the great masters. And if anybody wants to claim otherwise, there's a news crew that will be happy to film you zapping planes out of the sky from your magic circle, right, or summoning demons into literal, visible, filmable appearance, or making gold fall out of portal holes, or whatever it is that you think the wizardly stuff is, right?
Exactly.
So the fact that this stuff isn't making the news should be enough to say it's not something that you can rely on. If it exists at all, and in my mind it does, I've seen the miracle effects, right?
Yeah.
I have seen the miracle effects happen. I have seen the instant turnaround from spells happen where, like, you say it and it's done. But it doesn't happen all the time, and it doesn't happen like that often enough for you to say this is worth dedicating your life to. Now, what is worth dedicating your life to is the influence on natural law, the influence on probability, right?
Gotcha, yeah.
So something is nearly impossible, then maybe not. But how many things in life could go one way or the other? How many things in life have a 30% chance of happening? And so this is the stuff that you can rely on magic for. This is the stuff that is repeatable very often.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So instead of saying like, I want to hit a scratch off in the next 2 hours and win $1 million, you could say, do a spell where, I want to make a better income within the next month and increase my monthly income.
Oh, absolutely. And there are ways to do that, where you can hit exact numbers many times. But it takes this union of the magical and the mundane, right?
Gotcha.
It's the people that work the magic at the exclusion of other efforts that fail all the time. These are the people that give the the sort of loser archetype where they're pinning all their hopes on the spell. And I always say, don't let your magical efforts overshadow or even take away from your mundane efforts. You can create a talisman of the sun or of Jupiter to help you get a job, to help you get a nice corporate position, right? But if you show up and this thing is like, is like a Public Enemy sized, clock face just hanging on your chest, and it's got all these occult symbols on it. Yeah. Guess what? You're not getting hired.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I get it.
If you're handing the interviewer your paperwork and you rubbed it with
blood
success oil, well, it looks like you're a slob, like you just ate some fried chicken and then, you didn't wash your hands. So these are the kinds of things. We have to make these things work together. We have to learn skills. And when you look at the great wizards through history, in fact, if you look at the Picatrix and what it suggests the body of knowledge should be for a practitioner of that art, it's not just occult shit. It's rhetoric, it's mathematics, it's all these other things. Now, I'm not saying we have to go to those extremes, but if you want to summon money, if you want to be successful, then you have to know how money works. and if you want to find love, or if you want to be a great Casanova, you have to know how these things are done. The magic alone is not there to carry you off, and if it's not going to be successful in the long term, even when it does work. And it will work occasionally. Like I said, it will work against the mundane factors every now and then. But if you want repeatable success, if you want it to be an art, then you've got to work it along with the grain of reality. You got to shave along with the grain, man.
Man, you got a way of answering stuff that makes total sense. And that is a really, really helpful answer. I appreciate that. We're going to take our last break. It's going to be real quick. We only got less than 30 minutes left here, guys. We got to do a few more words to pay the bills, but we'll be right back with Jason Miller. Don't go anywhere.
It's Jeremy Scott, and I'm the program director for the network you're listening to right now. We are the Fringe FM. You've probably noticed some changes around here lately, but what we really want is to hear from you. If you like it, hate it, or you want some more, let us know. Email talkback@thefringe.fm. Leave us your thoughts by calling 501-777-5631 or message our Facebook page at The Fringe FM. This is the new Fringe FM. We rock the paranormal talk.
Greetings, I'm Space Boy. I started writing music at an early age, inspired by such synth stylings of the Pet Shop Boys, Erasure, Kraftwerk, Art of Noise, and 8-Bit. I have crafted my work into a hybrid of synth pop with modern electronica rock music of today, with pounding beats, high-energy arpeggios, soothing orchestral moods, and rock and roll. Space Boy will surely be a part of anyone's music collection. So head on over to spaceboymusic.com and get you some cool stuff.
Kids, don't drink and park. Accidents cause people. This has been a PSA brought to you by your friends at Shift Happens and The Fringe FM.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
You guys rock.
Live Weekdays on the Fringe FM. It's Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Monday through Friday at 9 Pacific, midnight Eastern. The Fenton Perspective with Lori and Fenton. Mondays at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. Project Compass with Mark Eddy and Dave Cruz. Mondays at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. Lighting the Void with Joe Roop. Tuesdays and Wednesday nights at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. Big Picture Science from the SETI Institute. New Tuesdays at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. Wednesdays at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. The Kurt Green Hour. Wednesdays at midnight, 3 a.m. Eastern. The Paranormal Code with Rich Giordano. Thursdays at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. Shift Happens with Gigi and Cortana. Friday at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern.
Is it live?
Live. Weekdays on the Fringe FM. We rock the paranormal talk. On the Fringe FM app, TalkStream Live, tune in, and online at thefringe.fm.
Hi, this is Ryan Gable, host of the Secret Teachings radio show. If you are interested in ancient knowledge and hidden mysteries, as well as a unique and balanced perspective on conspiracies, symbols, and the occult, then join me every Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Fringe.
Paranormal, somewhere between abnormal and paranormal.
The U.S. military holds the ability to time travel.
Jeremy Scott asks the questions that we're all dying to know.
Wow, that's a remarkable question.
Watch your step. Hide under your blankets.
The show that is going to make you think.
Prepare yourself for what you're about to hear.
This transmission is coming to you.
You're riding into the paranormal.
Live Saturday nights at 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern on KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. Thanks for sticking around with us. We're in the last part of the show here. We're with Jason Miller, talking about his new book, The Elements of Spellcrafting. I suggest you get it. Go to strategicsorcery.net as well to get that, and to get all his other stuff too. I mean, I'm very impressed with the way you explain things, man, the way you talk about it. I've never had anybody explain things to me this way when it comes to magic, maybe short of Lon Milo Duquette, but I'm really interested in your material, so I'm going to be checking out your website when this is over with. Jason, thanks for spending time with us. We're just about done here, but I've got one of the big questions that I know needed to be answered, and it could be paranoia, because I get a little bit paranoid about things because we talk about conspiracy on the show. And do people make deals? Can they make deals for, like, I don't know, say, take me, for example. I'm a talk radio host. I've got all these people that actually come to me and say, man, I don't know why you don't have more subscribers. You know, just keep plugging away. You're the next big thing. And it seems like other people get these breaks and some people don't. And what I've heard from people is, well, they made a deal with a demon or something. That's all you got to do. And I laugh at that. And I go, but wait a minute. I wonder if there's any possible truth to that, you know?
Oh, man, now you're getting deep into the old Americana. Everyone from, people said Robert Johnson because he wrote Down at the Crossroads, but that's not actually what that song is about. But other blues singers, have been said to have gone to the crossroads at sunup with their guitar, and the devil would take the guitar and play it and give it back. Uh-huh. And there is a story that Bob Dylan did that same thing. So, there are some people who say that Bob Dylan made a deal with the devil at the crossroads. And pact making is a very important part of magic. Very important part of magic. In fact, one of my favorite books, I don't advocate everything in the book, but it certainly gives a great outline of how to work with some of what's called the blue grimoires, the grimoires that focus on demons and things and are not quite as ceremonial or Kabbalistic as the Keys of Solomon, is a book simply called Pacts with the Devil by Jason Black and Christopher Hyatt. And yeah, these kinds of things can be done. Now, you're not promising your soul, though. They don't have any interest. I've always said if there's a devil, like the devil, not just demons, but the devil, and you're about to make a pact for your soul, he's already got it. So, if that whole schema is true, he's sitting pretty with your soul as it is already. But that's not really how it works. It's in exchange for offerings. Offering, spirits like offerings, gives them a little taste of the material world that we're oriented towards, and we get a little taste of their astral, etheric, spiritual power that they're oriented towards. And this is how it works. Same can be true of spirits of the land. Same can be true, in Iceland they make agreements and pacts with the elves. And in Nepal they make agreements and pacts with the local spirits all the time. It's not fundamentally different.
So there's a little truth to it then, actually.
Well, there's a little truth to it, but, does that explain who gets the big breaks? No, I don't think so. I think most of the time you can look at who gets the big breaks and see how they got the big break. They were the first.
Gotcha.
They were the first on the scene with whatever it was. Or they were the third on the scene, but there's an old, everybody knows the first man to fly across the Atlantic, right? Charles Lindbergh. Nobody knows the second person to fly across the Atlantic, Bert somebody or other. But everybody knows the third person to fly across the Atlantic because it's Amelia Earhart. She was the first woman to do it.
Right.
So there's always there's something that stands out, right? So it could be their approach, it could be their niche. These are people that make a market unto themselves at which they dominate. And even maybe they're not first, but they're better, or just there's something, and you can usually identify what it is. Now that's helpful in magic, because then you can use magic to say, how do I find this thing for me? How do I
find my unique place in this market or whatever?
So in other words,
right.
Rather than I've got a podcast, why am I not as popular as Joe Rogan or Tim Ferriss?
Right.
Right?
Love Tim Ferriss.
Why am I not able to charge, $60 to $100 per download, per 1,000 downloads? That these guys are charging per 1,000 downloads. But so it's, rather than saying, okay, well, I just got to find the right demon to make the pact with, you got to find the right angle, and you can call upon the spirit of Mercury for that, or you can call upon demon for that if that's your thing, and then you explore with that demon's tutelage, with that spirit's tutelage. You look at the market, right? You let them show you things, point things out. And then you contact them again and say, okay, well, I've got an angle now. I've got my message. Now I want to broadcast this widely and see how it goes. And they're going to influence it. Again, it goes back to that influence. If it was just about, oh, well, these guys made a pact with the devil, and so they got big.
Right.
In all likelihood, neither Joe Rogan nor Tim Ferriss have a pact with the devil. or any spirit for that matter.
Makes sense.
They're just really good at what they do. They work incredibly hard at what they do. And, when you read the biographies of guys like Elon Musk and these, the luminaries, they have days that are insane to even contemplate. That just every moment is scheduled out. There is not a single wasted moment. And to me, it seems insane. But then I've met other people, and they look at me, and they're like, my God, you've got 5 different courses going and multiple books, and this is like, how do you do it? And I'm just like, I don't know, I just do it,
Yeah.
I work hard, do I have magic going for it? Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
But I also work my ass off at it.
Sure. I get what you're saying. And a lot of people ask me that in this business. They're like, what did Art Bell have that everybody, how do we get that back? And if you think about it, Art Bell was the groundbreaker, the first of his kind. You can't be Art Bell. You're not going to be Art Bell. You've got to find your unique thing in this field. So quit trying to be Art Bell. Find your thing, There's a couple of questions in the chat room. Joseph in the chat room wants to know, does Jason have any thought about Santa Muerte? Her popularity is growing quickly.
It sure is. So hugely popular. I have known practitioners of Santa Muerte, not all my life, but for a few decades now. It's one of those things where people are either trying to vilify her and her practitioners, or they are kind of doing what witchcraft had to do in the late 80s, which is to whitewash it and say, no, we're not those evil people that, that Morty Terry says we are. And the truth is that, first of all, these are not evil people. These are regular people. And that that Santa Muerte is called upon and arose in areas of strife, in areas where people are a lot closer to the cycle of life and death than they are in, say, suburban neighborhoods in the northeastern United States, right? And so a lot of the things that people look at and say, oh, that's really dark. Well, it's a dark world they're dealing with, and it's a not fair world that they're dealing with. If you're, there's spells to avoid the police and things like that, and people will look and say, so it must be for criminals and drug runners, and yeah, it is, but it's also for people who don't necessarily get a fair deal from the police,
Gotcha.
aka people whose skin is a little darker than mine,
which is an extreme reality. Yeah. So I
right.
get that.
So I mean, I try not to bring too many politics into it, but the reality faced by somebody of color, when they get pulled over, is a little bit different than my reality. And a spell of Santa Muerte to keep police officers off your trail, it's a little, when you see it through that lens, it's very different. It's not such a dark thing. It's just a necessary thing. And so I'm not a practitioner. I know she's, hugely popular and immense, and I'm not against her or her practice in any way, shape, or form. I'm simply not. It's one of the things I don't do. Not because I have done some work with other people, and I've paid homage. It's kind of like going to somebody else's church that you're not the religion of. You partake in whatever way you can, and you pay honor and respect, and that's that. And, one day I may dig deeper. I'm waiting for my friend Jesse Hathaway to come out with his book on Santa Muerte. And I certainly stay up on it because it's a fascinating, widespread and fast-growing movement. There are some people who get involved in it where I kind of raise an eyebrow because either they are attracted to the purely just the dark aspect of it, and they just want a spirit that will give them anything they ask for. Right?
This kind of goes back to what you were talking about before. What are you doing?
Right.
Who are you hanging out with? What statements are you making?
And then also there is just simply, is this your truth? This being that is, arising in some troubled areas of Mexico, and is cultivated by the poor and so on and so forth. If you're a middle-class white suburbanite, how much of that is truth for you? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It's not up to me to judge, but it certainly is just an eyebrow raiser. But I'm fascinated not only by that saint, but there are other saints that get written off as narco saints like Jesus Malverde, and again, the vilification is not necessary. I mean, when the first time that I sat down and someone told me the proper story of Jesus Malverde, I cried. This is not just Jesus of the bad green, like, some random folk saint for drug runners. I mean, this is a defender of the poor who the poor then rose up and, when they would not allow, the government, the police wouldn't allow anyone to bury Jesus Malverde or carry him to the graveyard. The poor people that he had helped would pass by his body in the street and drop a rock. And soon an entire cairn was formed over his body because he had done so much to help so many people, because his own parents had died of starvation. So, there's always a lot more there than the people who want to vilify it or sensationalize it make it. But then there are sometimes people who whitewash these things, and none of that's not really about that at all. And well, let's not pretend that it's not about that at all, because there is that aspect to it. There are these darker aspects to it. There are these aspects where it is tied up in underworld activities. So,
gotcha. Thanks for that answer.
You don't get easy answers from me. I
like the way you answer things, man.
Everything I have to say is long and complicated.
No, not really. Like Silver's saying in the chat room, the way you answer things is extremely helpful. I mean, it's extremely relatable, and it's helpful, and you do have a way of articulating things that I've never heard Magick explain this way ever. So, yeah, don't worry about that. But my final question would be, before we wrap this up, is, and I get asked this myself sometimes, and I don't know how to answer it, but what if somebody goes into this and, it opens up doors in your consciousness, you start learning that there's more to this universe than what meets the eye, and you're one of two people. This becomes fun and exciting for you, or it scares you, and you want to go back. Can you go back to the way you were before once you went down this road?
Oh, well, it depends. First of all, there's the question of why you got in the first place. There are people who get into magic because they want to hear spirits, and there are people who get into magic because they want the spirits to shut up.
Gotcha.
they want to have some control over experiences that are already happening to them, or they want to make use of experiences that are and things that are already happening, or things that they're already doing. So in that respect, if you're one of those people, then, you know, you can always back off. You can always close down as much as you can and just deal with things, I guess. If you kind of get into it for a thrill, or you get into it because a boyfriend or a girlfriend is into it, or you get into it because you like the idea of paganism and you as a religion, and you like the idea of seasonal festivals, and then you kind of get sucked up into the witchcraft aspect of it. And maybe, you know, something gets a little too real for you. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, people go for decades without ever having an experience that that really hits them. Because there's all kinds of shallow experiences people can have. You'll do a ritual and you'll have the slightest little touch of the spirit, and then your mind will just take it and create a vision out of it. So it'll be maybe like 2% contact with spirit, 98% of your projection. I call this the projection-perception ratio. But then once things start to get a little clearer, then stuff can get real. Stuff can really scare the bejesus out of you. And so then you want to back off. And the way to do that is to put the stuff away, to get rid of it respectfully, give it away to people. You know, if some people turn to the religion of their birth, I still say, you know, you don't want to burn all your stuff, and you don't want to give it to the church or something like that, because they'll just do something disrespectful with it, and that'll just piss off spirits more. But yeah, you can back off. You know, there are a lot of people that I've met that, you know, they back off the magic and they go on to lead just normal lives. They don't think about it very much. And then there are some people who try to, but they're left with this, you know, Pascal said that people had a God-shaped hole in their hearts. And so there are a lot of people who have a magic-shaped hole in their spirit, and maybe they're scientific materialists, and they don't want to think about magic, but there's some part of them that just pulls them back.
Yeah, I can relate to that. And like Lon told me once, he said, I asked him that same question. He said, would you trade the consciousness that you have now for what you had before? I'm not saying don't go back, but think about that for a second, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I wouldn't really.
Yeah.
It's hard to go back now, you know? So, yeah. Jason Miller, man, the Elements of Spellcrafting is the new book, strategicsorcery.net. Thanks for spending time with us, man. This has been a really enlightening and cool show, and I really appreciate the way that you talk about this subject. It's really awesome to have you on the show. Thanks for coming out, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. It has been a blast, and, you know, it was a great way to start this press thing, I guess, I do with the books. So thanks for having me.
It was my pleasure. It's totally my pleasure, man. All right, guys, that's it. We're at the end of the show. Don't forget to check me out on Spaced Out Saturday. I'll be there. Hang out with me Saturday with Lori and Fenton, guys. This show was produced by the Fringe FM and cannot be rebroadcast or syndicated without written permission. Music was by Kevin MacLeod, Spaceboy, and spaceboymusic.com. See you guys Saturday night. If you're listening live, hang out for Spaced Out Radio's up next.